from their album Plastic Beach from 2010, Stylo featuring Mos Def and Bobby Womack. The reason why we're opening the show with Gorillaz today is because I have a special guest on the whole show, and it's Damon Albarn. And Gorillaz have a brand new album out called Gorillaz Presents Soul Machine, and Damon's kindly agreed to join me on this show. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I think the album's called Strange Times. I think it's very convoluted this time because it's a season, you know, of 11 episodes. And to be totally honest with you, I'm not quite sure what it's called.
Well, they say here, Gorillaz Presents Soul Machine.
Okay, well, if they
anyway,
say that, then...
I'll do it again if you like.
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm just saying how bizarre everything is, really.
Okay, so that's... We have a debate as to whether... It doesn't matter. The album's come out this week.
It doesn't matter what it's called. It's just out.
This is your 7th Gorillaz album. And for me, it's one of the best. And you must be really happy with it. You've got so many great people on it, for Christ's sake. You've got Slow Tie. You've got Jonas Policewoman. The Unknown Mortal Orchestra, who are one of my favourite bands. And people like me and Robert Smith from The Cure.
Yes. Beck. Lee John from Imagination, which was, for me, quite a coup.
Yeah?
Yeah. You must have bumped into Lee John down the road at some point.
Oh, I have, yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
How long did this take to get together?
Well, it started off like last October. We've just want to make music when I feel like it, as opposed to sort of dedicating 2 or 3 months to making a record. And that's pretty much how I did it. And then it just got to May this year. I was going back in time, actually, just like Boris's new slogan, "Build Back Better," you know. Yeah. Get yourself a time machine and meticulously rebuild the past.
Would be lovely.
Sorry, I'm a terrible digresser.
That's all right. Now listen, you're going to choose some music on this program as well. You've chosen 5 tracks that you really like.
Yeah. I mean, I was like in the middle of like just putting the final touches and dress rehearsals, and I started on the train of thought was how it started was the Pink Phantom. I know you're adamant it wasn't a pink Bentley, but my recollection of it was that it was.
I think everything should be pink anyway.
Yeah, I was given, along with the ride in not your pink Bentley, it was Ray Cooper's pink Bentley at that point, which you had given to him. There was a copy of Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds by yourself. And I thought you wrote that song for a long time.
God, if only.
So I started with that, and I suppose then I went to Rod Stewart, and I thought he wrote First Cuts the Deepest until I found out that it was Cat Stevens, and then I kind of, you know, and so there's something there in that theme.
We're going to play a track by Teddy Pendergrass called "Turn Off the Lights," which is from 1979.
I love this
on one of my
favorite
labels, one of my favorite labels of all time, Philadelphia International, produced by the legendary Gamble and Huff. So let's just play that, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Turn off the lights.
What a voice from 1979. Why that track?
Oh. I just love that. I love that. I love all his stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's so perfect, isn't he, Teddy Pendergrass? He was just like so perfect.
You're drawn to soul music, very much so. Like most British musicians are, if they're worth it. I mean, let's face it, Blur, when we first heard Blur, it was a million miles away from that. But of course, during your career, you've gone and you've recorded Bobby Womack, you've recorded with a lot of black artists, including American soul artists, and also many, many African artists. And I love the fact that all us white boys love that kind of music, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you can't really beat it. It's just, it's there.
I know. I started off just being incredibly envious that I didn't have a voice like. I mean, you've got your voice is much more kind of in that as expressive in that way. You have that power in your voice. I've never ever had anything like that. So I started off just being incredibly kind of in love with the soul voice and envious that I couldn't get near it. And then I kind of let that go, and then I just sort of really enjoyed working with such soul musicians, and then that became kind of almost like my life, really.
Well,
and you know, and when you work with people like Fatoumata Diawara and Bobby Womack, you see this connection and how, you know, through that grotesque journey of that diaspora and slavery, and the way that traditional voice develops into the blues and into rock and roll and into soul and all of that. It's just fascinating to really feel that connection, you know, because it's really it's something you're born with in a way, I think.
Of course, and it's all something we all wanted to have, and we don't have it.
Not so much you're born with, but it's just your very early environment is like that, has that sound, that spirit about it. I think you need that, especially with the African. I mean, you know, some of the quarter tone movements that then turned into the blues note kind of later on.
It's extraordinary.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. We're going to play a track by a new guy called Raven Artson, which you've never heard of, and it's called Whatever. He's a Dutch singer who lives in LA, so we're going to play this right now. Raven Artson and Whatever. Damon Albarn is my guest on the Rocket Hour this week. Rod Stewart's version of The First Cut Is the Deepest is your next choice. What a song this is. I
love this song. It was one of my first songs when I started, like, thinking that maybe that's what I wanted to do, was write songs. That was one of those songs. I remember one particular journey where I walked from my village into Colchester, which was like a 6-mile walk, and I had it on cassette, and I must have listened to it like 40 times on that journey. Right. And just I used to get that with songs where I just literally had to just everything. In fact, that kind of sort of obsession was how I sort of deviated from classical music, because I got to grade 8, I got to that point, and then I just started, when I was practicing, I just like there'd be something in a Mozart sonata that it would be like 3 or 4 chords, and I'd just be obsessed, and I'd just keep playing that, and I never really finished the piece. It's like, and I think you have to have that kind of obsessive nature if you're gonna learn how to do things, really, anything, whatever it is, you know.
The lyric to this song is amazing. Yeah. And the fact that it was written by... Cat Stevens and I grew up at more or less the same time. He's a little after me, and we were great friends. And he was always one of my favourite songwriters. This actually was recorded, first of all, by P.P. Arnold. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That was that she had the big hit with it on Andrew Loog Oldham's record of The Medium, where the small faces were and all those things. But this is a beautiful version by Rod, and it comes from his album, A Night on the Town, from 1976.
I would have given you
It is a perfect song. Right, now, Gorillaz have a new album out that we don't quite know the title of, but the first song that was released from the album was featuring Robert Smith from The Cure, right? And it's called Strange Times, which you think is the title of the album, with a Z on the end.
I think he put his finger on it, really, you know what I mean? And then we just put a Z on the end.
Right. When I did my track with you, you'd said that you played me the track, and I said, what was it like recording with Robert Smith? Because I've never met Robert Smith, but I love The Cure, and I love their videos, and I think they're one of the most inventive bands that have ever existed. And I said, what was he like? And you said, nocturnal. That stuck with me.
Yes, very nocturnal. I mean, and there were themed nights. So he would you'd start talking to him about like 10 o'clock at night, and then it would be, we're having a Russian night, or we're having a Mexican night. So he had themed nights, and then I'd go to sleep, and I'd get up like quite early, and then that was when you'd have the last conversation with him. But I didn't realise that he that he, or I didn't know that he was he's fascinated by astronomy. So he's up looking at the night sky. Really.
Well, this is it. It's Gorillaz, Strange Times, featuring Robert Smith. Here we go. Gorillaz, Robert Smith, and Strange Times. Love that so much.
I was going to say he was kind of into it because all I sent him was like a drum beat and not really any much kind of chordal information, but this mad sort of freestyle trumpet solo from my niece, who was sort of in lockdown. She's only 9. She's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. But I just let her go nuts on it, you know. She's kind of got 2 or 3 notes, but boy, does she played. And he loved it. And I thought, isn't that wonderful? My 9-year-old niece and Robert Smith making a tune together. It's lovely.
Your next chosen track is by Fela Kuti, featuring Tony Allen. And it's one of his most famous tracks called Zombie.
Yeah, it was the first track I heard. I mean, I obviously wanted to mention Tony because he sadly passed this year, and he really was truly one of my best friends, and I learned so much. He's such a beautiful human being from him, and but this was the tune that kind of turned me on to Fela Kuti, and then to him, and then, you know, he changed my life, really. When I met him, he profoundly changed my life. So, you know.
For those of you at home who don't know, not familiar with Tony Allen, and all good musicians should be, he's a big part of The Good, the Bad and the Queen. He's the drummer in that band, which is another of your projects. And before I'm going to play this Fela Kuti, I just have to tell people at home why I love you so much, and don't get embarrassed. It's because out of Blur came Gorillaz, came The Good, the Bad and the Queen, came Monkey, which was an opera way back. And I, as an artist and a composer, I've always loved the fact, and I was so admired the fact, you did things that you loved and you explored different music and you went for it. And I don't think there's any other British composer that's ever done that quite like you. I know you work with Michael Nyman, and Michael's, you know, done a lot like that too. But I have to hand it to you. You are, for me, the most interesting British musician. That, you know, because you're always going off and do something and throwing everything behind it. African Express is another one which I loved. And,
I mean that's a whole big thing. That is, it's sort of you know, that's the joy of improvised music, really. That you know, which is.
But it's incredible that you've gone from one of the most successful bands of all time. And by the way, the last Blur album, as you know, I was such a huge fan of, and was a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. And it's the joy of playing with wonderful musicians that you seem to love, and I really admire that. Yeah, that's what makes you tick, right?
It's very simple. Yeah, I love music. I get up every day excited about making music, and you know, and I'm prepared. And I'm prepared. I mean, when I first landed in Bamako in 2000, I went to my first kind of port of call was Tamani Diabate's front room at like about 2 a.m, and I sat down there, and then he came in with his kora, and all I bought was, I thought, if I'm going to Africa, I need to start right at the beginning. So I took my melodica, which anyone who knows melodica, you can't tune a melodica. It's so you know, and I couldn't ask Tamani Diabate to retune his kora so that it was in tune with me. So not only was I playing with one of a master griot musician, but I wasn't in tune with him, and I had no idea what was going on. But I love putting myself in really difficult situations, and then kind of, you know, you work your way out. You know what I mean? You climb up from whatever pit you've fallen in, and you know, eventually you kind of. You're there because you started. You know, I've always been like that about music. Everything, opera, everything.
It shows, and it's the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for adventure, and the thirst to hear other things. And I don't know if you've heard this. Have you heard this Mongolian band called The Who?
No, I haven't. No.
They're a hard rock Mongolian band called The Who. They're amazing. They've been on the show too.
With the wonderful circular low breathing. I have been to...
Yeah, that's exactly what they do.
I have actually been to Mongolia and played with musicians there, but I don't know that band.
They do all that incredible low voice stuff.
Yeah. I am
anyway, enough of my prattling with you. Here's Fela Kuti.
Tell them to go straight.
Fela Kuti featuring Tony Allen. Amazing ending there, which Damon did on video for us, called That Was Zombie, and that was from 1977. I'm following that with Nina Simone and Be My Husband.
Oh, I love Nina.
She's my favourite artist of all time.
Yeah, I think she's up there for me as well, honestly. I really...
Yeah. She just destroys me every time I see her play and I hear her sing. This is from her 1965 album, Pastel Blues, Be My Husband. A genius, I think, Nina Simone.
Definitely a genius, and some of the most bizarre but ultimately moving live performances that you're ever going to see on YouTube.
Ever going to see.
Ever.
Did you see the documentary, What Happened, Miss Simone?
Yeah.
And it was just excruciatingly beautiful and painful, what she had to go through. But when she used to come on stage and you go, sit down, it's like, oh!
I think you had to be very laid back as her musicians.
Yeah, I know. It's like terrifying, right? It'd be like being James Brown's musician or something like that. Or Prince. Prince's musicians, you know?
No, but even it's more random than that. You know, they might stop and start things, but she go off on a journey to a different place, and you don't know when she was going to come back. You never knew when she was going to come back. But then she come back and like almost to the note start the song again where she left off.
Yeah. Sensational. I mean, and also the fact that you could, with her piano playing, because you and I both studied classical piano, classical music just resonates through the whole of her piano playing.
She's so tasteful. She's brilliant. Oh. She's brilliant.
Right, Cat Stevens, we're back to him, and an actual record by Cat Stevens called Sitting, from his album Catch a Bullet 4. This was from 1972. Why this song? I love this song very much anyway, but why this one?
It's just it was one of those first songs. My parents randomly, another sort of random story I have, my parents shared a flat with him for a little while, and when he left, they took his blue vinyl comfortable chairs with them on their journey. Then I was born, and then we had them in our front room, and we had this album on cassette, and so it's one of the first albums I ever listened to was Catch the Bullet 4, and this song this was one of those ones when I was like 4, I was obsessed with it. You know, really moved me. A very moving songwriter for me.
When I started to make it in America, I was offered by Hal Ashby the lead in Harold and Maude, which is one of my favourite movies of all time, and the script was just phenomenal. And I had to decide whether I did the film and gave up my career for 6 months, which was just beginning to, gain momentum at a fast pace, or do the film. And in the end, I had to say no to the film, but I suggested Cat Stevens to him because he wanted me to do all the music, and Cat did all the music. They used all Cat Stevens' music for it. And, he's just... I remember seeing his first night at the Troubadour in L.A., just wonderful songs. And it's lovely to see him come back as Yusef and re-record Tea for the Tillerman and stuff like that. I haven't seen him for a long, long time, but we'd made a record together called, I don't know what it was called, Honeyman or something. I don't know. But anyway, I loved him. And this is Cat Stevens and Sitting.
Oh, I'm on my way, I know.
Cat Stevens and Sitting from one of Damon's first albums when he was 4, Catch Bullet 4, that he loved. I'm Elton John. This is my Rocket Hour on Apple Music, and I'm talking to Damon Albarn this week. And now we're getting to the track that I did with you and Black, and it's called The Pink Phantom. And you sent me the track, and I loved the track, and eventually, to cut a long story short, I did the track in London, and you in Devon.
I had to do a bit of work on it, though. I think, I gave you I gave you the beginnings, and then I put a bass on it, and I put some backing vocals, and I think that made it was more cohesive then.
but I loved the song straight away. And it's this time you write very simple, insidious songs, and you know, which is such a gift because I tend to go as a piano player all over the shop with chord sequences and stuff.
Well, you know, now check this. So I started off at the beginning, but just at the beginning of Blur, I couldn't play the guitar, and I only played the piano, and then you know, my songs were really, as you say, quite sort of all over the place. And I kind of had, you know, I sort of had to stop playing the piano for a while because I just kept writing songs like Elton John. and I had to write something else. So I learned very basic guitar, which is kind of where I still am. I purposefully never progressed with my guitar. And I spent years only writing on guitar. I now love writing. I love the piano. I love the piano. I love the piano more than anything. I'm happy to play piano all on my own all day. You know what I mean? It's not, and I write on the piano a lot now. But I actually had to stop myself because I did have Elton John syndrome, whatever that is. But that is a great compliment to you because, you know, I played all your songs when I was learning. You know what I mean? I love playing your songs.
Oh my God. I didn't know that. Didn't you actually record a song called Elton John's Cock one?
Yeah, Sir Elton John's Cock, actually.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's actually got a very grand chorus. We just never finished it, so it ended up being a B-side, and then we just gave it a silly name.
I was very honoured.
Yeah, you should be. I haven't sung about anybody else's.
I had such fun doing this, and it's you know, I did try to put piano on this track, and unfortunately, what I did, I played Elton too much on the track, and I got, because the track, it really humps in a very subtle way, and I kind of overdid the piano because I plan to turn it into Benny and the Jets, which of course the track is not. Yeah. And I'm glad you left it off. Because it didn't really fit, but I was having such a great time.
Yeah, I'd love to make another tune with you at some point. You know what I mean? I really would. Yeah. You know, I love you, Elton.
I'm here all the time. I'm not going anywhere. I'll run off and we'll elope together one day. This is Gorillaz featuring Black and me and the Pink Phantom.
More or less
Gorillaz featuring Black and me and Damon, of course, and the Pink Phantom. The mixture of us three really works really well.
Oh, I love it.
Track.
Yeah, a few people were a bit snotty about autotune, but you know, once you listen to it for a while, you realise that it's perfect. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
No, it's great, and the song is a very plaintive song as well. I went on to see the reviews of the singer because I was interested on these guys in America that do their own review shows, and they get about 400 viewers. But they all loved the track so much, and it wasn't what they were expecting. Yeah, so
good. Well, we did well. Thank you very much.
We did well, darling. Yes, we did well. Scott Walker was one of my favourites of when I was a kid. Dusty Springfield and Scott Walker were produced by Johnny Franz at Philips, who for me was the English Phil Spector. And he did the Walker Brothers and Johnny Walker and Dusty Springfield.
I mean, Scott.
And those sounds were amazing.
Yeah, really. I mean, orchestrally.
And when everybody mentions great English producers, Johnny Franz never gets mentioned, and I always get so pissed off because his records were amazing. And he did them all in that little studio in Stanhope Place.
Did he arrange the strings? Was he a string arranger as well?
I don't know if Ivor Raymond did them. I'm not sure, but. Scott Walker was obviously in this huge band called the Walker Brothers. Three guys, Gary Leeds. Who was the other boy? Thummin Walker. I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that, the other guy. And the Walker Brothers made these great records. But Scott Walker was kind of had the voice of God. And the sun don't ever shine and it was just so beautiful.
Moon ain't ever put in the sky.
It was John Walker. It was the other Walker Brothers, yeah. And also, Scott Walker was probably the most handsome man in pop music at that time.
He had everything, and he didn't seem to want any of it.
No, he didn't.
He had no interest in being a star whatsoever.
No. In fact, I think it freaked him out a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And he went off and made very interesting records. But before he did that, he made Scott 1, Scott 2, and Scott sings Jack Brel. Now, Jack Brel is a Belgian composer who wrote the most incredible songs. And you've chosen one of these songs called "The Girls and the Dogs."
And I didn't know it was. It was another of those which I didn't know it was by. I didn't know it was by Jacques Brel when I first heard it, and then obviously, then I discovered Jacques Brel, who blew my mind because it's just genius songwriting and lyrics.
Incredible,
brilliant.
But Scott Walker discovered him before even I discovered him, and made these records. It shows you how far ahead of the curve he was, and then he went and made 3 or 4 albums of his own kind of music, which was kind of obscure. I'm trying to think of what I could. He kind of falls into the Laurie Anderson category of people who go and who I also love.
They're just just perfect records. And they exist in a very elegant, dark, melancholic, alternate universe. You know. They're autumnal.
Yeah, I kind of think of him as a painter in his later life, like someone like Sigmar Polka or someone like that, because they were very kind of Germanic records in a way.
Yeah, I mean, his last couple of records, I listened to them, obviously, but I never listened to them twice.
No.
But I listened to them. I loved the experience, but I never really wanted to go back. But he's just brilliant. I mean, it's just like one of my favourite artists of all time.
Well, let's hear it. The Girls and the Dogs by Scott Walker. The wonderful late Scott Walker and The Girls and the Dogs from his album Scott Walker Sings Jacques Brel from 1968. Well, this is Elton John. This has been my Rocket Hour on Apple Music. This week, my guest, and it's so wonderful to have Damon Albarn as my guest. You are, to me, someone who I respect and love very, very much and look up to, which I can't really say much about many current musicians about, but you've done everything so brilliantly and you've done it so honestly. And I thank you for joining us. And I wish you great success with this Gorillaz album. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. We're going to end with the Gorillaz track, which is one of my favorites, Feel Good Inc. from the second album, Demon Days. And I think I read that you're actually going to do 3 stream shows of this album. Is that correct?
Yeah. And, I was, hoping maybe you might be able somehow to participate.
Well, I'm not going anywhere, darling. So hopefully it's going to be in December, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I wear a frock?
You must wear it.
Listen, thank you so much. I know you. Listen, you just come off opening another opera that you've written in Paris.
Yeah.
You never stop, but please don't stop because you're making great music and you're bringing people's attention to other musicians that needed to be lauded. And for that, I admire you so much. Good luck. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, lovely.
Thanks.
Bye.